some lights. Let there be light. Good morning. Good morning. Welcome to Black, White, and Mormon, a conference on race in the LDS Church since the 1978 revelation. My name is Bob Goldberg. I am Professor of History and Director of the Tanner Humanities Center and its Mormon Studies Initiative at the University of Utah. Please take a moment to silence your cell phones and all electronic devices. This month has witnessed a series of dramatic events marking the 40th anniversary of the revelation extending the LDS lay priesthood to all worthy men, regardless of race or color. These events reflect a genuine desire to move past hurts and toward a more equitable future. They reveal a church in transition, proud of its ever-increasing multicultural and multiracial membership. In moving forward, LDS President Russell Nelson declared, "All human beings, male and female, are created in the image of God. Each is a beloved spirit son or daughter of heavenly parents, and as such, each has a divine nature and destiny." In a similar vein, Dr. Martin Luther King said, "I have a dream that my 4 little children will one day live in a nation where they will not be judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character." The day dawn appears to be breaking. This conference seeks to gauge efforts to achieve racial equality at the Mormon grassroots since 1978. In joining the dialogue, conference panelists and speakers look to the future to offer insights about the path ahead for a church and our nation. In organizing this conference, the Tanner Humanities Center partnered with historian Paul Reeve, who is the College of Humanities Simmons Professor of Mormon Studies. Please note in your program our sponsors for this conference. Their names bear repeating. Along with Professor Reeve, the Tanner Center would like to thank the Daniels Fund Ethics Initiative at the David Eccles School of Business, the Charles Redd Center of Brigham Young University, the Smith Pettit Foundation, the LDS Church History Department, Gregory Prince, John and Philip Lear, and the Mormon History Association. Now, please welcome Professor Paul Reeve.
Thank you, Bob. It's my pleasure to welcome you to Black, White, and Mormon 2, a conference on race in the LDS Church since the 1978 revelation. The conference will proceed according to the order in the program. We will first address issues of racial violence and racial battle fatigue, and then we'll talk about getting past the racial past. We will break for lunch, and I'll have some lunch instructions when we do so, and our featured lunch speaker will be Dr. Marcus Martins from BYU, Hawaii. We will then, in the afternoon, speak about those who came of age since 1978 as Black Latter-day Saints, and we'll end with a panel on race, religion, and community, and then finally there will be a cultural celebration featuring Marge DeSuze. I am really excited to welcome you today. I want to draw your attention to the wonderful artwork that is on stage and to acknowledge the artist who provided it. You are welcome to come on stage and look at it during the breaks in between panels. The artists, if you would please stand, Dalen Montgomery, Karen Dudley, and Marlena Wilding. Please recognize them. I also want to publicly thank Dr. Robert Goldberg, Director of the Tanner Humanities Center, Beth Tracy, Associate Director, Susan Anderson, Development Officer, and Megan Dippo, Marketing and Communications Manager. This conference would not be possible without them. please also join me in recognizing the Tanner Humanities Center for sponsoring us today. And I would also like to acknowledge the Conference Program Committee who planned and shaped this conference into what you'll be experiencing today. Dalen Montgomery, Alice Faulkner Birch, and Robert Birch. Please recognize them as well. Now, I would like to share with you something that I have been excited about for a very long time. So is this going off of my computer? Yes. It is. It's not. There we go. Okay. I'd like to share with you a project that I've been working on for some time and am excited to finally announce. Before I do so, a bit of context is in order. Let me try to explain. In the months leading up to the 2012 presidential election between Barack Obama and Mitt Romney, a few media outlets reinforced the public perception that Mormons were predominantly white. Reporter Jessica Williams from Jon Stewart's The Daily Show interviewed 5 black Mormons and then called them mythical creatures, the unicorns of politics. She asked if the 5 whom she had met comprised the entire population of black people in the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. Susan Salney, a reporter for the New York Times, similarly speculated in a Times online video that there were only a very small number of black Mormons, a couple of thousand max, or somewhere between 500 to 2,000. Likewise, Jimmy Kimmel asked on Jimmy Kimmel Live, "Are there black Mormons?" I find that hard to believe. A new digital history project, A Century of Black Mormons, is designed to not merely answer such questions, but to historicize them. A Pew Research Center survey found that between 1% and 3% of U.S. Mormons, so not internationally, but U.S. Mormons in 2009 were black, 60 to 180,000 members. But to date, no scholar has attempted to name and number the Black Latter-day Saints in the 19th and early 20th centuries. The questions that Kimmel, Williams, and Salney asked in 2012 highlight the historical amnesia that dominates the public perception of one of the nation's homegrown religions. It is a perception that is perpetuated by Mormonism's historical narrative on the inside, as well as misunderstandings on the outside. By the beginning of the 20th century, Mormons themselves had erased black pioneers from their collective memory and solidified race-based priesthood and temple restrictions in their stead. On the inside and on the outside, black Mormons were lost to history. As a historian of the 19th century Mormon past, it's troubling to me that no one knows how many Black Latter-day Saints there were in the 19th century or what their names were. There's a scene in the book of Moses, a book of scripture that Joseph Smith, a founding prophet of Mormonism, produced, which will help me to illustrate my point. In this scene, God is showing Moses the vast expanses of his creations. He tells Moses that he has created worlds without number and that they are innumerable unto man. But then he says, "All things are numbered unto me, for they are mine, and I know them." In this scene, Joseph Smith introduced his followers to the intimate God of Moses, a God who created worlds without number, but who nonetheless still knew Moses' name. He not only knew Moses' name, but the names of all of his creations, and they were numbered unto him. God, in this scene, is a perfect social historian. He is not merely concerned with the leaders of nations or with prophets and kings. He is not advocating for history from the top down or history told from the vantage point of great white men, but rather he is advocating for history from the bottom up. He is describing a history in which all people are known and numbered, a history in which no one is erased or left out. In the spirit of the intimate God of Moses, I'm excited to announce and to officially launch a public history database called A Century of Black Mormons. This database is designed to document and recover what was lost, the identities and voices of Black Mormons during the faith's first 100 years, 1830 to 1930. The LDS Church has never tracked membership by race, and so official LDS baptism and confirmation records are not always useful. Yet documents do exist that have allowed us to identify Black Mormons, name them, and collect basic biographical information about them. To date, we have 238 names that are under research. Once the research is completed, the documents and biographies for each person will be loaded into the website and made publicly available. Of those 238 names, 41 are already loaded into the website and are now open for you to explore. Some of them, like Elijah Abel, will be familiar to you, but I suspect that the majority of the 41 names currently in the database likely will not. Because time is short, I will only highlight one of the biographies in the database. I have selected Frida Lucretia McGee Ballou to share with you because this conference centers on the 40th anniversary of the lifting of what is frequently referred to as the priesthood restriction in Mormonism. Frida's biography highlights the fact that it was much more than a priesthood restriction. It also barred Black women and men from LDS temple worship and from serving missions. Frida McGee Ballou describes July 21st, 1978 as the happiest day of her life. Her assessment of that day is all the more remarkable when one considers that she was 82 years old at the time that she made that claim. Frida would live to be 91 years old before she passed away, and yet she considered July 21st, 1978 to be her happiest day. Frida's happiest day was exactly 1 month and 13 days after the June public announcement of what is commonly called the priesthood revelation. Frida had traveled roughly 1,000 miles from New Orleans, Louisiana, to the LDS Temple in Washington, D.C., and on her happiest of days, she was sealed by proxy to her husband, Pierre Rudolph Ballou, who had died 6 years earlier. It was a day that perhaps Frida thought might never come. It was certainly a day that she had waited a long time to relish, a fact that might have deepened her experience. Frida was 9 years old when LDS missionary Ernest Kopsel, a German-born immigrant, baptized her in 1909. Elder John W. Gregory from Mapleton, Idaho, then confirmed her a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. She was the fourth of 8 McGee children and was baptized in a creek near Tylertown, Mississippi. Frida's mother, Ardella, and father Samuel had previously converted to Mormonism, and now their oldest children were joining too. For Frida, it would be 69 years and 23 days. Stop and think about that. It would be 69 years and 23 days following her baptism into the Mormon faith before she was finally allowed to enter an LDS temple and have her love for her husband Rudolph sealed for eternity. No wonder that Frida declared July 21st, 1978 was the happiest day of my life. I will leave the rest of Frida's biography for you to explore on your own and leave the database as a whole as open for you to explore. It is now public, so please enjoy. I do want to highlight one feature of the site, and that is the documents reader. And hoping that technology is on my side, let me just show you an example of what you'll find at the database. So it's centuryofblackmormons.org, and each person that's loaded into the database will have basic biographical information on the side there, a biography, and then the sources used to create the biography, and at the bottom there's a documents reader so that individuals visiting the site can make sense of and interpret the documents for themselves. So here are pictures of Frida, but if you go to the index tab, you also notice there are things like Frida's marriage license to her husband Rudolph. And there are things like her baptismal record when she was baptized in 1908, along with her family, 1908 and 1909, into the LDS Church at Tylertown, Mississippi. And you'll notice that the clerk, when her father, Samuel, was baptized, wrote colored man in the margins, and colored man next to each of the children and her mother, as they were also baptized in Tylertown, Mississippi. And then I'll just draw attention to a couple of other features. There is, under the Win tab, a timeline of baptismal dates so that you can get a sense of when Black Mormons joined. And once again, as we load more names to the database, they will fit into the timeline. And then and Jane Hunter, baptized in London, England in the 1850s, you click on their name and it takes you to their biography. You can also explore the database vis-a-vis a map. And if we click on the map, you'll see there's Frida in Tylertown, Mississippi, but you can then also click on other individuals and learn about them by exploring the map. And you might be surprised at the locations in which you find Latter-day Saints, Black Latter-day Saints converting to Mormonism. Elijah Banks, for example, 1899 in Minneapolis, Minnesota. So I'm excited to announce this database. I also need to acknowledge that it's very much a collaborative project. It would not exist without the expertise of a variety of people. Anna Neutrauer and Leah Martin Donaldson and Jeff Turner deserve all the credit for the website design and the cool timeline features for the win page and the cool map feature for the where page. And Anna and Jeff and Leah are here. Can we just acknowledge them because they're pretty amazing? I cannot say enough good about them. They're also a group of researchers who have contributed to the project in significant ways. Artist Parcel, Tonya Ryder, Amy Tanner Theriot, Joseph Stewart, Matt McBride, Taryn Mitchell, Ben Kaiser, Jenny Reeder, Reed Nelson, Keith Erickson, and the staff from the LDS Church History Library, including Ann Berryhill, Jennifer Barkdahl, and Elise Reynolds. Thank you to all of you. There are also some Century of Black Mormon stickers and business cards, some swag, so you can remember the URL address, so pick those up as well. Welcome to the conference. We'll just take a 2-second break and then we'll get the first panel up here and ready to go. Thank you very much.